To API Days India. In this track, we're going to learn about partner ecosystems. So we have a range of speakers, but one of the aspects about ecosystems between partners is that the traffic, the messages between the partners are probably going to be traveling over the internet, and that needs to be secured. And even when it gets into your own environment, it needs to be secured also. So I'm very pleased to welcome Akshata Sawant. She's a senior software engineer at EPAM Systems. Welcome, Akshata.
Thank you, John. Thanks.
And you're going to share with us how to implement zero trust security in practice.
Yep.
Great. Over to you.
So, thank you. So, hello everyone. Thanks for joining in. So today we'll be mainly discussing about zero trust security in practice. But before going there, let's get away with a quick introduction. So about myself, I'm Akshata Sawant, currently based in London. I'm having around 4.7 years of experience in MuleSoft, and I have been a MuleSoft ambassador and meetup leader. I've spoken at a few events and written a few blogs. If you have any queries related to MuleSoft and want to know more about it, you can just connect with me over LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to assist you. So going ahead, we'll be over the time. We'll be discussing more about security, MuleSoft, and how do we achieve zero trust security. But before that, I would just like to add a quick story for you guys. Last year I was like delivering a session for computer science kid, and that's when a teenage girl, came up with so many questions. She was like, how are we able to how are these sites, different social media sites, able to remember a username password? I'm not even able to remember a single password. And that's when she said that it's good that these days we have all this Google, Facebook authentications, which helps us with the while signing in into different accounts and stuff. I was like, yeah, just imagine a curiosity. And do you also ever get this question, like, how do we actually manage all these different passwords and all? How are the integration? How does the integration take place? How is the security taking place and stuff? So definitely over the course of time, we'll be talking more about it. And as we go through our session, you will have a better idea, like how are we doing all this stuff and so on. Okay. So before that, if you'll be like, you can see over here, there is a screen which is like telling you more about Spotify's login page. And you can see multiple options here, logging with Facebook, Apple, Google, as such. Also, you must have seen the screen as well. If you're working in an organization, you normally get a push notification on your mobile, which asks you to verify yourself over the couple of times. And it gets quite annoying, I know, but yeah, that's important. And also, if quite few years ago, if you remember, this is how we used to get a simple login page, which used to have a username, password. If you're forgetting it, all you have to do is reset thing. So if you see over the course of year how the authentication, authorization stuff has changed. So have you ever wondered, like, what has actually changed, what we have brought in, and what is the need for it? So definitely we'll be having an answer for all these questions by the end of the session. So stay tuned. And moving ahead, like, we'll be definitely discussing about security and zero trust security, API security. How are we going to achieve that? But before that, let's just have a fair understanding of what MuleSoft is, what it does. So I'm not sure. Maybe a few of you must have been heard about it, or you all are aware about it, that it's a middleware integration tool. But that's not all about it. It's more than an integration tool. It provides you a lot of capabilities and components when it comes to integration. You can actually manage the entire API lifecycle, like all the stages from API design, management, development, managing APIs, securing policies and stuff, everything under one roof. And you don't have to be relying on several different products, like for monitoring or logging purpose. You're getting everything in one place, at one place, basically, when it comes to MuleSoft. So it's not just an ETL tool or an iPaaS service. It's having a lot more to offer when it actually comes to integration and stuff. So, well, with that being said, this is how actually your application network, or whatever system you're having, your current organization structure. Maybe you can imagine that currently you're having a complex structure like this, wherein you're having lots of integration apps, basically your end systems. You're connecting your application to different end systems, which could be in your organization or could be external to your organizations. And as you can see, these are like mainly like you can consider them as a Lego building blocks, and they are like interconnected to each other. There could be reusable component, non-reusable component, and in this complex structure, we are actually exchanging data, metadata, and stuff. Like normally, you're having several applications and stuff which are interconnected to each other in your organization as well. So when you have such a complex structure, right? I mean, which is having lots of data exchange happening place. So how do you manage the security of such an architecture? Have you ever wondered that? I mean, imagine if you're having some like a two or few systems, then that would be quite easy to manage as you're having accountability. But when you're having large number of applications, how tiresome it would be or how chaotic it would be to manage the security of the applications. So in order to manage that, what comes into picture is zero trust security. So this is a concept laid out which based on one single purpose or maybe one whole concept, that is zero trust. You're not going to trust anyone. So basically what zero trust means is you're actually going to identify all the vulnerabilities, and you're going to not trust anyone. I mean, each and every entity or each and every, you can say, an API call or maybe a response or request, whichever you're getting, not the response, the request basically, will be verified at each and every level. I mean, even if I am the employee of an organization who has been using the portal several times, I have been using over a decade, I have been using from several locations. But even if I want to log in into my system the next time, I still have to verify myself. I have to prove my identity. So that is the whole concept or the whole soul of the zero trust security is like trust no one, and you have to always verify yourself. Also, we are going to give like the least privileges, and default by default it will be like deny access. Least privileges in the sense we are not going to give all read write access to everyone. We are going to give role based access only to what is needed and what is limited for the purpose. Apart from this, we'll be having full inspection control over what data is being flowing like among the different systems. So previously we have seen the architecture which is having large number of end systems, applications, mule, non-mule applications, all kind of applications. So in that terms, we should be having maybe control or transparency on what is the data flow, how is the data flowing between which end systems. Okay. And lastly, we'll be having centralized management system. Some one particular place, like you can say your identity management or a security system, security group, who is going to take care of all the security related stuff, who is going to inspect all the inspect and monitor all the activities across the organizations and network. So this is the whole concept of zero trust security. Now, why do we actually need zero trust security? What is the purpose of having it? Because over the period you have like heard about different vulnerabilities, different security concepts as well. So what zero trust has to offer you from the traditional concept, and why the traditional concepts are no longer relevant? Okay, so why they are not relevant, we have already seen with the complex integrations and complex structures which are coming into pictures. All the older security methods are quite obsolete, and we need something which is like quite firm enough to provide assurance basically in terms of security. So when it comes to zero trust security, you can actually exchange, you can have a control on all the data, metadata, which is flowing between the assets. You have to authenticate and authorize all the entities. I mean, no matter how long, how many times they have previously logged in or from different locations they have logged in or whatever it is, each entity has to be authenticated and authorized every time they're trying to enter the system. Okay. And we can have an application, we can have security at an application level, which is like quite atomic level, or we can have it on the wider perspective, which is like the applied across the entire application network or through all the applications. Apart from this, we are eliminating the virtual private network because we are having security. I mean, there's no point in having, I mean, we can have a VPN, but when you're having a zero trust security, which is providing actually a better uh, all round security, you can say, which eliminates the need for having a VPN as well. Okay. And here we are going to use all the edge cutting security technologies, which is like whatever the latest thing you have, the OR 2.0 or the latest algorithms, the latest security implementations. So all those things will be brought into picture over here. Okay. And with the help of all this edge cutting security, we are also ensuring that we are protecting our application and also the entire ecosystem, the integration ecosystem. We are protecting them from the advanced threats and malicious attacks and stuff, which is quite important. because I mean, maybe you must have heard that from the Gartner itself that API abuses will be like the most frequent vector attack which is going to happen. And here we are also seeing that those things in the news as well. So it's better to protect our systems from all this malicious attempt and implement zero trust security. So we have now seen that what is zero trust security and why do we need zero trust security. So moving ahead, we'll be like seeing how we can implement zero trust security with MuleSoft. So this is the security, I mean, this diagram, we have already seen it as well, right? Previously, like we are having different applications and systems and stuff. So yeah, when it comes to security, we can have our the peripheral level. I mean, what approach MuleSoft is putting forward for you guys is we are having a layered security approach over here. You can either have security on the entire peripheral level, I mean, across the application network, which is like applicable for all the incoming requests from external environment, or you can have it at a particular node level, which is like at an application level. So suppose that there is some application just trying to connect with some of the systems, which could be Facebook, NetSuite, or any of them you can see over here. So you can either apply to the individual node level, which is like going to keep a track of incoming, outgoing requests in terms of maybe monitoring a request, the number of requests or any malicious attempts if there is trying to be. So yeah, you can be having a security at a particular node level or at the peripheral level, which is like we can see in the red dots. So this is the layered approach. I mean, and this you can have at any kind of permutations and combination across all the nodes and stuff which you are having currently. Okay. So what is the security topology? Like we have seen how is the architecture? I mean, how is the current topology? Now security topology, how are we going to atomic? Like what is going to happen behind the scenes is something over here. So here you can see there is basic endpoint, which is like actually you can say the entry point of your application where the application is going to receive a request. Okay. Basically, it could be a basic endpoint or a proxy endpoint which is going to receive a request. And then there is an API manager, which is like MuleSoft's, you can say APM governance platform, which is responsible for managing all the security policies, managing all the applications and stuff, and governing all the API security. So yeah, that is the one component or a capability of MuleSoft. And the third thing would be like API gateway and the backend API. So API gateway, you can relate it as like maybe a security watchman or a gatekeeper of your premises. Like every time you enter the premises, you have to validate yourself showing an ID card or maybe what you can say, your authentication card basically. And that's when the gatekeeper allows you access to the building. So that is when you're authenticated. And then you are supposed to go to a particular premises, particular floor or a room, and that's, I mean, as per your roles. So that is something like authorization. So we are continuously performing authentication and authorization every time a request is sent to the basic endpoint, and only if the request is successful, then the request is sent. I mean, the API gateway forwards the request to the backend API. If the validation or the authentication authorization fails at the API gateway level, it will reject or deny the request, and that's how it is protecting our backend applications or backend end systems. So this is a very simple topology, which is like quite easy to implement as well. So let's see how we can implement that. In this screen, you can see there are several security policies and stuff like basic authentication, which could be simple LDAP or like JWT policy. And then there is OAuth authentication using Mule OAuth provider, or you could be having some different OAuth providers as well, which of your choice, like the identity management system, which is responsible for managing your tokens, generating new tokens and stuff. Also, you could be protecting your JSON and XML policy, I mean, data using the threat protection. I mean, if there is some malicious data which is being trying to insert it and causing harm to your maybe payloads and systems, then in that case as well, you can protect it. There is IP blacklist, whitelist, which will be like blocklist, sorry, which will be like denying or accepting the access to particular IP ranges. So all these are a few security policies which you can see over here, and they come under security compliance. But apart from this, there are quality of service compliance, troubleshooting, transformation policies as well. And these are like quite easy to apply policy. I mean, even if you're someone who's like not familiar or not having a deep knowledge about security but wants to protect your application in a very simple way, they are quite easy to go forward with. All you need to do is like just click and configure them, and with quite simple and easy steps. Apart from this, like these are one of the method, and this is one of the method you can apply across your entire organization, or maybe across just few application, like any number of application in any permutation and combination. So you can apply as many policies as you want, and in any number, any permutation combination. But apart from this as well, if you want to apply some custom policies, or if you have some custom need for a particular organization, like you want to have some other kind of validations as well, then you can build a policy or a security policy from your scratch and then apply it on your application network. So that is as well one of the way. Apart from this, I mean, there is like tokenization, detokenization, as you can see over here. So for that, you can protect your application from the sensitive data which you're having, like PII information and stuff from the malicious attempt. You can just hide it, tokenize it, or it's kind of similar to encryption, decryption, but in a more secure way. So yeah. So this is all about security and stuff, and how are we going to implement zero trust security, how it is simple. So the major key takeaways from this session is we have seen what is MuleSoft, what are the capabilities, and how it is like what all things it has to offer when it comes to an entire integration ecosystem. We have learned about zero trust security, what is the need of zero trust security, and how do we achieve it. We have seen the layered security approach, like we are having an API-led connectivity network, which is having several applications and systems. And then we can either apply a security on the peripheral level or at the between two nodes, or however you want. And then we have seen security topology, or the architecture, which has been provided by MuleSoft as well. And that is a common general architecture, which is like, which tells you about the API gateway, the anypoint API manager, and how the backend API and the front-end API, they communicate, how the requests have been rejected or denied as on the basis of the authentication authorization. And we have seen how do we implement zero trust security with MuleSoft. We have security policies, which are by default, or predefined security policies, which are provided to you. Apart from this, you can also have your own custom policy if you need, if you want to have something different, something customized for your organizational needs. So that's all about today's session. And here are some MuleSoft documents and the GitHub repository link, which I've shared. Like if you want to apply any of the security policies, there are like steps mentioned, or even the documents have all the information related to security stuff. Maybe you all can just take a screenshot and maybe go to it later. Apart from this, yeah, if you guys have any questions, then feel free to ask me in the chat sections, or yeah, that should be fine.
Okay.
Just one
Thanks.
thing, yeah, just last
Yeah.
thing, yeah. What next? I mean, from here, you'll be having at 2 p.m. IST today, we also have a roundtable and workshop session on MuleSoft 101. If you're someone who's completely new to MuleSoft and wants to discover more about it, learn more about it, then a training team from MuleSoft will be giving a session today. Feel free to join it. I mean, it will be definitely interesting and serving your purpose. That's it, John. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Akshata. Actually, I have a question.
Definitely.
So very often, unfortunately, security is not thought of much until after organizations have already published some APIs, or they may have used some security mechanisms, but they turn out to be not such great best practice,
definitely.
or what was considered best practice a year or two ago is considered vulnerable today. So what would be your suggestion for an organization that has already published some APIs, but has a very patchy sort of record in terms of securing them, and realizes that they need to start protecting them more closely? What are the sort of steps that organizations should look at when they realize this?
Definitely. So, I mean, even previously, I have worked with an organization who were completely naive to security thing, and they haven't implemented security before for the APIs. But what we did is like we started from the scratch. I mean, not we didn't apply security across the entire application network. We started with small applications. I mean, you can take some small steps at a time, like securing a few applications from a particular domain, something like that, and then you're expanding your security across other applications. First, you can maybe as a beginning steps, you can just apply security on a 2 or 3 applications and then monitor the performance and the other stuff, how it is taking place, how feasible it is for customers and the other end users. And then you can just expand this approach across other end systems, I believe. And you can be starting small with some basic authentication, then LDAP, and then you can be moving ahead with the identity management providers, the OAuth and all. And yeah, and also you need to be having a security team or maybe a group of developers or security managers who are going to who are going to inspect all the security policies, because as you said, like what happens to be secure 2 years back seems to be obsolete now. So that's quite possible, and hence we need to be reviewing and updating our security policies. If there are some new versions available, we should make sure that we are moving to a newer versions time to time, so that we don't, the security is being protected and it's not vulnerable.
Yeah. Well, actually, there are a couple of things you mentioned there that I think
Yeah.
are very interesting. The first one is once you make a change to apply some security to an API, measure the performance,
Yes.
because if you've not implemented it well, then it may affect the response time
Response
or
time. Yeah.
other aspects of performance. And the other aspect is also communicating with the users of the API as to the change in the security. And that means keeping track. You should already be monitoring
Already.
who is
Yeah.
using your API anyway.
Because
But
yeah.
there's a big communication effort if you have a lot of consumers of that API, to make sure that you communicate the change ahead of time to them, so that they can make their own adjustments to adapt to the new security protocol. I guess there's
Yeah,
no.
definitely. I mean, there are several systems, right, which are interdependent. So if you're applying different security on all of them, we need to be making sure that all the systems are in sync and they are reacting well or performing well to the security which we have changed or applied on the other systems. So there is quite an interdependency as well when you talk about security. Like suppose if there are two APIs who are communicating. So yeah, and that would be going too technical now. We can talk for long hours and hours, I guess, on this topic.
Yeah, but the fact is, you have both internal and external users of an API, and you have to manage,
Keep them posted, yeah, on the security
keep
chain.
communicating with them, and it shouldn't
Mhm.
only be surprises. Communicating with the consumers of your APIs is something that should be ongoing, so that it's not um, a surprise when they hear from
Definitely.
you, and also that you have all their correct details, because particular roles in organizations, people can change roles within organizations, and the contact person for the
Yeah,
consuming organization of an API may have changed since you last communicated with them. So communicating early and often is an important part of any change management, which includes the security aspect of that.
definitely. I mean, this is a continuous process. It's not a one-time thing which will be like implementing security to your application and APIs and that's done. It's like continuously you have to monitor changes, what are the roles being changed, the contact person, as you mentioned, the updates and reviews which are available. So yeah, you have to constantly monitor and take and see how it's going through.
Great. Well, thanks very much for sharing those insights, Akshata.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was great talking to you guys. Yeah.